love trauma with a touch of wholesome family fun, then you're in the right place.
Welcome to Little House Big Opinions, where after we watch each episode, we wonder, were we really supposed to be okay after watching this?
If you're not okay after watching Little House, you're not alone, but don't fear. We're here as your expert Little House guides to guide you through. So hop into that saddle,
grab your bonnets,
and let's go.
You've probably heard of the show, Little House on the Prairie. We grew up being told the tale was wholesome, cozy, and oh so sweet. But I swear there's something tragic in like half of all the scenes.
I mean, seriously, did the writers run out of themes?
They said it's just some drama, but I think it sparked our trauma.
We're both totally fine now, though.
So now we're rewatching the show and talking about it as we go. This is Little House Big Opinions. I guess we'll see how this goes.
Okay, should be good. You can't see us, but we keep giving thumbs up. Well, I think we should introduce ourselves a little bit first. So my name is Riley.
My name is Amanda.
We are sisters-in-law. Sister-in-laws?
Sister-in-law. I looked this up once. I want to know the proper term, but yeah, that thing.
Yeah, but also best friends. So
yes.
I think our love, would you call it a love of Little House on the Prairie, or
Sure. Why not?
admiration, but also our joint confusion for Little House on the Prairie began the summer of 2021 when Josh and I were having a house built. So we moved in with Josh's parents, and Amanda still lived at home at the time. And we decided that we should start watching them from the beginning.
From the very beginning. And that we did.
So at dinner, most nights, we would watch episodes of Little House on the Prairie. And much to Amanda's mom's dismay, it kind of turned into us mocking it and making fun of it. And here we are.
Yes.
Amanda had this idea for a podcast, and we're finally doing it.
Finally doing it. We talked about this before the announcement, but then also with the announcement of the reboot, not reboot, because it's not
the continuation.
Yes, remake of Little House on the Prairie coming to Netflix, which we are really excited about.
Yes.
But that further got us, we were like, maybe this is a niche.
Yes.
Yeah.
That I think, and I feel like I didn't really think many people would be interested in it to begin with, like the remake, because I guess I just always think of Little House as being like a Christian kid show. But I mean, I guess it was fairly popular. Like it was on for like 10 years.
It was. And I'm interested to see how it goes. I'm thinking kind of like Anne of Green Gables on Netflix was pretty successful, and it did stick to, some of the true core of the story, but then also added some things in. So be interesting to see.
With how most shows are, I feel like there has to be some sort of spice level to it.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how they do that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of spice in Little House on the Prairie, particularly if you have the skill of inference, because Ma and Pa live in a real small cabin.
Yeah.
And they keep having children. So woods, barn, who knows?
Yep.
Somehow they're managing to keep the spark alive.
Yeah. I will say, have you seen the new Wuthering Heights yet?
I have not.
Okay. So there's a scene in Wuthering Heights where there's some spicy times going on in the barn. And my immediate thought was Little House on the Prairie.
Little House on the Prairie. Yeah, that's probably where they drew their inspiration from.
Most likely.
Okay. So Little House has been a part of our lives since
we were but young children.
Yes. The other day, I was trying to explain to a couple of coworkers the lore of Little House. Obviously, they were not devoted fans like me who had watched all the episodes, because they were like, oh, I thought it was like a sweet, wholesome show. And that's what a lot of people think. And it has its moments, but there's a lot of calamity as well. And it did a lot of traumatizing for me personally as a young gun.
Yeah, I think for me, when I remember it, I told Amanda there are 3 specific episodes that truly traumatized me and just really stayed in my mind, and I had irrational fears of the things that happened in those episodes happening to me. But I also remember really wanting to live on the prairie when I was little. And I had a special outfit that I would always put on when I watched, because to me it was the closest outfit that I had to what they wore. And it was very special and fun. And I would sit under the table and watch. I don't know why I did that. I think I wanted to feel like I was in the covered wagon.
Yeah. We both talked about the irony of being raised somewhat similarly and having fairly strict parents when it came to things like like TV shows and what we could watch. And we were not allowed to watch certain movies, especially like in the Disney realm, certain movies, certain shows for a range of things. Some of them made a little more sense, at least not truly, but at least compared to Little House on the Prairie, you know, we weren't able to watch certain movies because of magic or things like that.
Or the kids were not obedient.
And that makes a
no
little more
disrespect to
sense
the
because
parents.
Little House on the Prairie definitely doesn't have any of that. However, some of the reasons were having to do with things like relationships, and there was too much dating and crushes going on in like Disney shows,
Girls
and
were boy crazy.
yeah, and we'll get into it, but Little House has its fair share of that. And then obviously the other thing though was just that I don't know that I would say most Little House episodes are appropriate for children.
Definitely not.
There's a few are okay, but many are not. And so the irony of what we weren't allowed to watch to protect our little minds, but what we could watch, it stuck with us.
Yeah.
Enough to give us enough content to make a podcast about it.
So, on that note, a quick little thing about us. We both grew up in church and we have both since left. And I would say that we are both you say that we're fully deconstructed or deconstructing?
Are you ever fully deconstructed?
Yeah, probably not.
We've come a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like when we were living at your parents', I feel like we kind of got on the same track then.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when the journey really began.
Yeah. You know, if you are coming from a similar perspective, you might relate a little bit more, but we welcome all here on Little House Big Opinions. Anyone who wants to hear our big opinions on Little House on the Prairie.
Yes, we are understanding that not everybody is going to have the same opinions as us, and that's okay. We can respect each other and enjoy a show together because at the end of the day, it is just a TV show. So, fun facts about each of us so that you can get to know your podcast hosts a little bit better.
So, fun fact about myself, I have 6 pets. I have 4 dogs, and we just got 2 bunnies like a week ago.
And they're
I'm
so
a
cute.
big animal lover. When my husband and I got married, I had my dog. I just had 1 dog, and then we got another dog shortly after we got married. And then 2 years ago, we found one on the side of the road. And
I swear Amanda is like a magnet for rescuing animals because she has found so many and helped so many that she just comes upon when she's driving.
I'm constantly finding them, and I'm always pulling over and trying to locate their owners and like get them to a safer spot. However, I don't normally take them home because I do have pretty bad allergies, and I'm also a clean freak, so I can't deal with a lot of shedding. But this little guy that we found on the side of the road is a Shih Tzu, which is a hypoallergenic dog. So I was very excited because I was like, we can keep this one. And then we got a bonus Shih Tzu that we didn't really want at first, but my husband's parents couldn't take care of her anymore, so we took her. She's a very grumpy old lady, but hey, you know,
She is.
it's okay. She's happy you're here. And then now we have 2 bunnies. So we have Delilah, Arlo, Mr. Miyagi, Tiffany. I didn't name her. Okay, don't judge the name. I didn't name her. I just call her Pickle. And then the bunnies are Alice and Jasper. And yes, that is an intentional Twilight reference.
Obviously, it has to be. And you have to get more and just have the full cast.
Yes, we talked about
I feel like you need to name one Loca.
that would be good. Yeah.
So that you can just say, where the hell have you been, Loca?
Yeah, I'm already in my head. I'm like, we can get a white one and name it Carlisle. We can get
Yes.
a dark gray one and name it Jacob.
What color would Edward
I
be?
thought about this because I don't know. I was thinking maybe Edward and Bella would both just be brown, just kind of like a drab.
Yeah, that's honestly kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I'm gonna go for.
Maybe Bella could have a little bit of white
Yeah.
on her.
And then I'm thinking if we did one named Loca, we could do black. It'd be like the edgier Bella. Yeah.
Yes. That would be perfect. So obviously we're big Twihards. Love it. So my fun fact is that I am a huge reader. That is, I would say that's my only hobby, but I feel like I have like 2 or 3 other like hobbies that I have started because of my ADHD, and then they just kind of sit. I currently have a huge pile of things for junk journaling, and I think I've done it twice in the past year. But I have a whole closet full of things
Struggles with
for it.
ADHD.
Yeah. Yeah. But I am currently in the middle of my Sarah J. Maas 3 series reread, and I am in full annotating and like theorizing mode. So I decided that obviously I should buy all of the Little House on the Prairie books so that I can read them and annotate them and then share how close the show is to the actual books by Laura
I'm very
Ingalls Wilder.
excited about this because I read all of them when I was a kid. I loved them, but I have not read. I mean, I think I just read them the once when I was a kid, so it's been a long time, and I only remember vaguely snippets here and there. So
Me too. I feel like I pretty much only remember the first one. I think I read all of them because I think my mom read them to me, but I don't remember all of them. So that's something to look forward to. Hopefully, I think they get here in a couple days. So maybe by like the next second or third episode, I can get that read.
get that ball rolling. I was trying to come up with another Prairie little Holmesy saying, but get that cow going.
Guess I get the no, that's the Wild West. I was gonna say tumbleweed. That
Get the
tumbleweed
fire
tumbling.
burning. Okay, so we wanted to just give you a brief overview of how our podcast is going to work because we are not going to do every episode exactly the same.
Right.
There are a lot of episodes of Little House on the Prairie.
Yes.
There are 9 seasons, and there's about at least like about 20 episodes, I think, per season. So
Yeah, 20 to 24.
yeah. So there are quite a few.
It's 204 episodes total.
204 episodes total. So to do a full deep dive of all the episodes would take us quite some time.
We'd be here till we were old and
Yeah.
gray.
So instead, we are going to break it up a little bit. So some episodes, like the pilot, we will be looking at the entire episode, going into detail. So we will do that for a few episodes that are kind of core episodes for us. And then for some episodes, we will do a combo like we are going to do with episodes 1 and 2. So these podcasts will combine the two, kind of mesh them together for a little fun kind of
Yes.
sandwich.
We'll keep them separate in the podcast, so we'll cover them how they
Yeah.
aired,
And we're
but
trying
a little bit
to do
shorter.
it as logically as possible. So usually if we're combining 2 episodes, they have some kind of similar thread. So we're not going to like do anything jarring where
Right.
it's like the wholesome Thanksgiving episode and then we're going to jump to the blizzard and everyone dies. It happens in Little House more than you think.
There are a lot of blizzards.
So yeah, we'll do some combo episodes, and then occasionally we'll have Prairie shorts, where we'll just have a short, like 15-minute episode for some of the lighter ones that we don't feel need quite as much analysis.
Yes, but of course, if you want to watch along with us, feel free so that you know exactly what we're talking about as we are discussing. And let's get the show started.
So, a little bit of Little House lore. I can give us a little tidbit of that. So, Charles is played by the famous Michael Landon. Michael Landon was on Bonanza originally.
Yes.
Another great show. Michael Landon is known for directing as well as acting. So he did a lot of directing for Little House, and he borrowed, not like copy and paste, but borrowed some similar scenes, some similar storylines occasionally from
Yes.
Bonanza. Drew a little bit of inspiration from that for Little House.
And we will notice as the series goes on that Michael Landon is very vain.
Yeah, he works really hard to work in taking his shirt off.
Yes.
Scenes with him shirtless. Yeah.
And he was fairly short,
Mhm.
so he wore boots that had lift
Yes.
in them.
Yeah. I am not gonna lie though, he had good hair.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, very quick synopsis.
Yes.
So, Little House centers around Laura Ingalls and the books written by her. This was a real person. Obviously, the show took a lot of liberties, but, you know, some key things stay the same.
Yeah. So when we were watching this, we each just kind of jotted down our initial thoughts while we were watching the episode. And we've got some good thoughts. So, mind you, this episode was like 2 hours long because I think that it was filmed as a movie to
Yeah.
begin with. Now it's just been lumped as the pilot.
Yeah, but we're gonna dig a little deeper. Laura and her mom and pop and her sisters, her older sister Mary and her younger sister Carrie, live in the little house in the big woods, but times are getting tough. They, as Pa puts it, are living a hand-to-mouth existence. And he wants more for them. So they head out to Kansas. He wants some land. That's his dream. Good old American dream. So as they make their journey, they encounter some difficulties.
So the first thing is they have a dog named Jack. And Jack is a faithful character through most of it.
I'd say up to about season
4
or 5. Yeah.
And they make Jack run along behind the wagon. And he's not that big of a dog. Probably he kind of is like a mix between like a sheepdog and
I don't know, maybe like a collie or
Yeah.
something. But
so maybe like 45, 50-pound dog.
I
Not
wouldn't even
very
say that
big.
much because he's fluffy. So a
Yeah.
lot of that is fur. I'm thinking about my 55-pounder at home. I'd say he's probably 35-pounder.
35-pounder. So fairly small dog. And they're moving across the country and they're just having him run along behind the wagon. And like, okay, at first you can kind of push that aside. Like, okay, well, he probably wanted to run around. It's probably exciting for him. They're not moving super fast because they have one horse, I think, that was pulling the wagon, or maybe 2. So it's not like they're going 50 miles per hour. But
Then they get to this river that is fairly fast moving.
yeah, rapids.
Yeah, looks a little sketch. So Pa starts across right away. The horses are about up to their chest,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
And it's moving pretty fast. I don't understand how the water didn't get into the wagon,
Yeah,
honestly.
I don't know. Laura's like freaking out trying to look for Jack.
Jack is barking because he's on the shore because obviously he doesn't want to go into the river. She asks Pa to turn back, but he's like, it's too late now. We're too far in. So they keep going. They make it across the river. Jack eventually does jump into the water after them. When they make it across, they don't see Jack.
Laura's crying.
Pa says he's going to go look for him.
Then they are at their spot. They're camping. Pa goes to look for him, comes back without Jack.
Without Jack, it's nighttime, comes back in the dark. Laura's waiting. And this is where, you know, I think definitely, especially in the context of modern parenting and what we know now, it was especially just triggering. You know, Laura's all concerned. Jack is the family dog, but really Laura has a special connection with Jack. Obviously, you know, it's valid that Pa is in his feels because he regrets that he forgot to put Jack in the wagon before they crossed and that he made a mistake. And that's valid. However, instead of owning up to the mistake, trying to comfort Laura, considering that she is a child and that she has lost her dog, he comes back very moody. Carolyn asks, do you think he drowned? Charles says, probably. Very hasty, aggressive way. Doesn't talk to Laura at all, doesn't try to comfort her, none of that. Pa acts like a real dick.
Yeah, Pa, I don't know. He really just has mood swings.
But we both did say, I feel like there are traces of that in later episodes, but very much so, I think that maybe it was because it was originally intended to perhaps be a movie, or it might have just been, even if it was intended to be a show, just the beginning of it, it seems like they hadn't quite figured out his character yet.
Yeah.
Later on, even in season 1, Pa is much more stable, much more like the kind, supportive father figure that we see throughout the rest of the show. But episode 1, very volatile, very miscommunication, quick to anger.
And then fortunately, we don't have to go too long after that. Laura hears something in the bushes, and I'm pretty sure Pa's just like, oh, it's probably just a wild animal. It's probably just like a rabbit or something. But it is Jack.
It is Jack.
And he's shivering and wet and looks worse for wear. But he is okay.
He's made it.
Then at that point, Pa does kind of...
He
doesn't apologize.
He doesn't apologize. Laura apologizes, which is the crazy part. Laura, this 7-year-old, goes up to her dad and is like, I'm sorry. He's like, what are you sorry for? And,
as parents do.
And she's like, Dad, I thought you didn't care about Jack. So she's apologizing for her feelings, which make complete sense because he was acting like he didn't care.
Yep.
And, you know, this is where he says, of course I care about Jack. I was just feeling really guilty because I hadn't put him in the wagon and I should have thought of that, and so he kind of apologizes here at this moment, but it takes the 7-year-old having more emotional intelligence than the grown man, which is still pretty common, to get Pa to reflect on his actions a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings us to where they get to the land that they decide to build on.
Yes. They arrive at a spot that Pa loves. It's beautiful. They chop down logs to build a cabin. It's a meager cabin, but impressive.
Yeah.
They meet a man named Mr. Edwards, who's a little unruly.
Quirky.
Yeah. Ma, also known as Carolyn, takes issue with him due to his behavior, his unruliness, his
Uncouth.
spitting.
Yes.
And she's worried that he'll be a bad impression on the children. Yes. Mr. Edwards is probably best known for his song
That he sings
constantly. Old Man Tucker.
Yes. Which there's a lot of controversy between our family with what the lyrics are.
So when you look up the official lyrics of the song, it is called Old Man Tucker.
Yeah.
But whenever he sings it, it most definitely sounds like Old Dan
Tucker.
Dan Tucker.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of debate over this, and then we looked it up and found out we were wrong. But based on our ears,
it sounds like Old Dan Tucker.
It is always will be known to us as Old Dan Tucker. Really, either one works perfectly fine for the song. Ma is concerned about other things as well. She's worried about the girls not attending church and school because, hey, they're in the middle of Kansas. So there's no school for the girls to go to. She was a teacher. She's been teaching the girls up until this point, but it's like, hey, on top of taking care of our cabin and animals and stuff, teach our kids. Pa comforts her and is like, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. The children are like, what would we say? How old?
I would say Mary's maybe like 10.
10?
Laura's like probably like 7.
7.
Carrie, I feel like just kind of stays the same age for a long time.
Yeah, we're not really sure how old Carrie is. But, you know, I feel like they're already at the bridge, but whatever. Miscommunication is frequent in this episode.
Key trope for sure.
Do we want to talk at all about the miscommunication and their relationship?
Yeah, I think that with Charles and Carolyn, there obviously is very much the common marriage relationship of the time where the man is very much the one in charge. The woman is kind of just there to help raise the children and support whatever the husband decides. I do feel like later on, there is a little bit more of Charles listening to Carolyn, and I think that they do start to show him caring more about her opinion, but especially in this first episode.
Yeah.
I think she's treated like she doesn't really know what's best. Her concerns are just concerns. It's not really valid.
And her main concern being, you know, that they're in the middle of nowhere. There is no one around them. There's no town.
Yeah.
And then she's worried about the girls not having friends, interaction. She's worried about them not going to church. And, you know, Pa says that the great fields of Kansas are as much church as they need. Which, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
Yeah. Not gonna lie. I'll hand it to Pa on that one.
Yeah.
Feel like you can find God in a wheat field more than a chapel. But
you should put that on a shirt.
yeah.
That can be our first merch.
There's more God in a wheat field than in a chapel. But, and then especially not only is he concerned about these things, but because there is no town nearby, this means that Pa has to take extended trips to get supplies. So,
and she's just left alone.
Left alone with 3 daughters in the middle of nowhere. And of course, like the stereotypes towards the Indians are very racist and wrong. But given the context of the story they were trying to create, she is a woman alone with 3 children in the middle of nowhere. So she's concerned, and rightfully so. Pa goes, I think this is about the time that Pa goes to do some ranching before the hunting. Doesn't he do the cattle? Because there's some men coming through and doing a job of herding cattle.
Maybe.
And they say for his time that they will give him some beef, but he ends up coming home with 2 cows instead, or is it just the one?
I think it's
just the one, but she's pregnant. She's pregnant, yeah. So, family is really excited about that. They're excited to have milk and butter. Yeah, I'm saving that for my favorite line. So, Pa comes back. He is limping off. He had some kind of incident with his buttocks, and he's in pain, and Carolyn is laughing a lot.
And Carrie actually says something here.
Yeah.
It says, like, not a cowboy or something.
Yes. Carrie is a little bit of comic relief.
Yes.
I think she's supposed to be pretty little, like probably 2 or 3. She's got a lot of hair.
Yeah, she does.
Kid's got a lot of hair, so she kind of looks a little bit older, but just from the way she acts and behaves, I'm thinking 2 or 3. Then we have the wolves
Yes.
chasing Pa. This is a really intense scene.
Yeah.
The wolves are right on him. The wolves, though, look
Just like dogs that have been painted.
yeah, they're definitely dog looking.
German shepherds.
But he's going up this kind of bank and he knows that his horse isn't going to be able to get away. So he drops he's got a couple of like rabbits to tide them over until he can get away. So then, and then this is the time while he's gone on this hunt, the Indians come into the cabin.
Yes.
They just, they go over and touch Carolyn's hair, kind of seems more innocent curiosity. They play with the feather pillow. They open it up and throw the feathers in the air. Ma is terrified. The girls are terrified, but they leave. Ma gives them some bread
And tobacco.
bread and tobacco, and that satisfies them, so they leave. There's not much more to it than that.
Yeah.
Oh, there is, though. It is pretty hilarious. Prior to this, when they arrive in Kansas, they kind of mention that Indians being in the area and their concern, and they specifically call it Indian country. And one of them says, I wonder if we'll see an Indian. And I think Mary says, never, I hope. And I wrote that down because literally they say, like, we are in Indian country. We came to Indian country and we hope not to see Indians. That's pretty nuts. And then I think, so Ma doesn't tell Charles about the...
No, I think that Ma was just going to kind of leave it and not say
Right.
anything, but
And
the girls do.
Laura brings it up. Possible.
Oh, because of Jack.
Right.
So that's the main thing about this scene.
Yes. Okay, so before Pa leaves, he's going on this is after the first incident with the wolves.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I believe.
He's going to hunt again.
Yes. So he's going out on a second hunting trip, and he is concerned about Jack following him, and then...
Yeah, the wolves will get Jack.
And then there being problems with the wolves, or I think he also says something about the Indians. Like, he's worried that he'll follow the Indians, and then he doesn't know what the Indians would do. So he's worried about Jack, so he ties him up, but he doesn't explain to Laura why. He doesn't tell her why, doesn't give her an explanation. He just says, don't you dare untie Jack. And she's like, but he doesn't want to be tied up. He hates it. And he's like, don't. You listen to me. You obey. Doesn't offer her any explanation. So then when the Indians come, they see them coming from a distance, Laura and Mary. Yeah. And Jack is freaking out and barking. And Laura wants to untie Jack to protect them. Yeah. Because she's thinking, she's a kid. She's thinking he'll protect us. So she's trying to untie him. Mary refuses to let her because she's like, Papa said no.
But then the girls just run into the house.
So they just end up... So Mary's like, no, she shoves Laura down, so they end up running into the house. The Indians come, which we went over. So then, do you want to...
Then when Pa gets back, Ma is not going to say anything about the Indians, but then Laura says something, and then Mary, tattletale that she is, says, Laura was going to untie Jack. And Pa flips his lid.
Like, doesn't really show a response over, like, the Indians coming in. No. And, like, again, they didn't do anything, but, did kind of freak Carolyn out. Yeah. And doesn't really show any concern over that. He just immediately, when I told you not to, flips on Laura. And is like, when I give you an order, you follow it. He is yelling at her.
She's crying.
She takes off crying. Carolyn immediately tells him, like, you were too hard on her. She was just trying to protect us. Yeah. So does he go right away outside to talk? I think he does.
I think he goes out. But again, it's the same kind of, he
acts poorly, apologize later.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. So he finally goes out, and then he explains to Laura why he tied up Jack, and explains, like, why it was important that he stayed tied up. And he does say, I should have just told you, but he's like, but I also need you to understand, like, if I tell you to do something, like,
I have a reason.
I have a reason. And, and she's like, okay. It's like, you could just tell her the reason. Yeah. But they make good. Yeah. So I think the next thing I have is the Indians come back just for a brief moment.
And
this is where Pa
chief is there. They're Creole Indians, so they're French.
At this point, it's just the chief and a couple of the guys, and they are able to, like, say their names. So he meets the chief, though, but he's like, oh, he seems like a nice person. He comes in, invites him in for a smoke. They, introduce each other.
And that's when he gives Laura the talisman for good luck. And after that, I think Pa and Ma are talking about it, and Laura basically says, like, they were here first. Mm-hmm. And because, like, she wasn't scared of them. She just, like, went up and said something to the chief, and she is, like, nice to them, and she's the only one the whole time. That's like, well, they were here first.
Right.
We moved in to where they live.
Carolyn and Mary are kind of like, oh, I hope we don't see them again.
Yeah.
And Laura's like, why not? They were nice and they were here first.
Yeah.
So,
So my actual direct quote that I wrote down was Laura spitting straight facts about the Indians being here first.
yeah. Yes. Okay, so then we jump to Christmas,
And the blizzard.
and there is a blizzard going hard outside. And Mr. Edwards is traversing the terrain to get to them because he promised he would come for Christmas, I think.
I don't know. He just felt like he wanted to give them something.
Yeah. Either way, he's headed there, but he has to cross a river, and like it is snowing, and I mean, it's not like the river that they crossed initially, like it's a small stream, but it's still freezing water.
It was still like up to his chest.
But he is wearing what would be like
Long johns,
but like full long johns, like the one with like a onesie, like an adult onesie, essentially. And this is never explained why.
Yeah, we don't know why he's carrying his clothes.
Yes.
But he never puts them on.
But he never puts them back on.
He's just wearing his
So
onesie.
we don't know if he was trying to keep his clothes dry and was planning on putting them back on later, but he arrives to the cabin iced over.
Yeah.
So
he gives the girls each an orange and a penny, and the girls are ecstatic and amazed. And that kind of wins Carolyn over. And then, like Amanda said, he gives her yams or sweet potatoes, and she is grateful. And I think that's kind of what...
I feel like I'm being a bitch because I'm a stickler. But I just don't want anyone to think that we don't know our Prairie. So Mr. Edwards gives them the orange and a peppermint stick. And the penny was from Ma and Pa.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was it?
That was all they had to give them, but they gave them a penny.
Oh, okay.
And so he gives them the peppermint stick. He has the peppermint stick for Carrie as well. And then he gives Laura and Mary an orange. And then he's got some yams for Ma. And this wins her over.
Carolyn's a simple woman. He is the embodiment of Santa Claus in this episode.
Yeah. And so it's a nice, wholesome moment.
That lasts about 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And then fire.
So you don't know where the fire came from.
When it starts, you don't know.
They try to put it out. We have this scene of them trying to get water and put it on, but it's basically fighting an uphill battle.
And they put Carrie in the creek.
Yes. So they, Pa says take Carrie somewhere safe. So Ma goes and sets her in the creek, and then I guess it makes sense because he's trying to still put out the fire on the house.
Yeah.
But they just leave Carrie sitting in the creek like this 3-year-old, and she's just
crying.
crying, and it was heartbreaking.
Very sad.
Poor little Carrie. So after a couple minutes of this, it starts raining. They're saved, but then we get the context of Carolyn. I think Carolyn brings up that she thinks the Indians set the fire because they're trying to flush them out.
And after this, that evening when they're eating, they start hearing drums.
Yes. Carrie, I think it's like imitating the drums. She kind of starts like banging on the
table or something.
And Carolyn is freaked out, and so she yells at Carrie.
And Carrie starts crying.
Again. Yeah. Poor little Carrie. She's just yells at her, "Be quiet, Carrie." And so there's like these drums in the distance, but then the chief arrives.
Yes. And the chief then tells them how the fire started and basically says that there were other settlers that the other tribe was trying to get out, but he basically communicates that they know that the Ingalls are okay and they want peace between them and they will not harm them.
Right.
They will let them have their land.
And that I think he had even communicated with the other tribe and said, this is only going to create problems and we need to be at peace with. So Charles is appreciative of this.
It's honestly really going above and beyond.
Yeah.
For someone that just takes your land.
Yes. But so there's peace between them. Then we have this scene of Pa walking through the crops, feeling them. I think he says, "Thank you, God." Is that what he...
Something.
He strokes the wheat and says, "Thank you, God."
Which we noticed that the wheat is definitely like bamboo.
Yeah.
It is not wheat. It is pretty sure it's bamboo.
But so we have this kind of like happy conclusion. And then we have these two people ride up. And from the gist of what I understand is that the tribes had filed a petition to have a line drawn of where the settlers couldn't cross.
Yes.
And the Kansas government had agreed. Mm-hmm. So they were over that line. So they had to leave.
Yes.
So.
And that's kind of where that ends. They are all sad and they have to leave their home that they have literally just like gotten to where it was livable.
Yeah,
and
because they had
successful.
been working on putting on a door and
Yeah.
things like that. So back to square one, disappointed, and that's where we wrap up
Yeah.
episode 1. We have a couple of, I guess, mini segments.
Oh man. So we do want to discuss the most bizarre moments that we each think. I think we'll probably agree most of the time. And then each of our favorite lines.
We are gonna have a chance as kind of like how survivability, how much we
Trauma meter and survivability.
trauma meter for how much it traumatized us watching it, and then survivability, like if we were in that episode, if we think we would survive. And then we might do some special episodes later on, character analysis, deep dive, and then we will come to find Carolyn says Charles probably at least once per scene.
Oh yeah.
And she has a lot of
different inflections.
Yes. I mean, there's
Yes.
just depending on the moment. But so we're thinking we're going to do a Charles count per episode.
So, confession, for this Charles count, I am ashamed to say that I forgot to keep track. I think in my head I thought about it and then just got so engrossed in all of the drama that I forgot to actually track. I know that Carolyn screams Charles when they're crossing the river because she's just very concerned with how much the horses are struggling. And obviously the girls are nervous. And I'm pretty sure she screams Charles when there's the fire and he's trying to help the cattle.
I'm
she sees that the barn is on fire.
I'm trying to remember if we have any more Charles in this episode or if this will come to later.
Yeah, possibly when he says the wheat field line.
Yes.
You can find God in the wheat field. Does she? I could see her saying kind of like a Charles.
Yeah. We're just guessing at this point. But we promise to be better moving forward about keeping an accurate Charles count.
Yes. And maybe for a special at the end of season 1 of the show and the podcast, we can do a special recap of all of the Charles calls that Ma does. I don't know legally if we can play the actual sound bites. So maybe we ourselves can just recreate it.
Every single one.
Yes. Or followers can send their best Carolyn impressions saying Charles. That would be great.
Okay, so most bizarre moment.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you say?
I don't know if bizarre in this episode.
I was going to say I think it's where Paul yells at Laura.
Yeah.
Where that was pretty nuts. It's just very out of nowhere.
Yeah, for trying to untie Jack.
Yeah.
And then Ma yelling at Carrie.
Yeah. It's bad parenting. Bad parenting.
All around. It just shows parents unable to control their emotions, which I guess if you look at it, they were literally in the middle of nowhere with nothing.
Yeah. But also, they ended up there because
they chose that.
They chose that. And they lived, they said that there was not enough, farming or whatever where they were.
Yeah.
And there wasn't enough food where they were in the big woods. But Carolyn's family was there. Her parents and her
siblings.
Yeah, I think her sister and her husband and then their kids. So,
and they had a school.
So, Laura and Mary had cousins and stuff. So they had family there. And Charles says, he wants better because it's just a hand-to-mouth existence. But then, it's very much so a hand-to-mouth existence in the middle of Kansas. So that's kind of ironic. But favorite line, I think we probably have the same.
Yeah. So the context is this is when Pa is all excited that he has found the group of cowboys that's wrangling the cows and they need some help. So he has found some additional work and payment will be a cow. So you see that. And then when he tells Carolyn, he gives one of the best lines.
He asks her, how would you like some beef? And her face lights up and she says, we haven't had beef in ages. Which probably figure out once you listen to more episodes, but we're children. We said that's what she said at least 20 times during this episode.
Yeah.
And so that line, how could you not be childish about that? Really I also have I actually wrote down one of the things we responded to. That's what she said with. When they builds the cabin, Pa is apologizing to Carolyn because he's, I wish I could have made it bigger. I wish I could have, I wish I could have given you a better place. And she says, I don't think it's too small and it looks really sturdy. So that was really good. That's what she said.
Yes.
Line. So our favorite line is, we haven't had beef in ages.
Yes.
Okay, so time for our trauma meter and then our survivability rating.
Yes.
All right. What would you say for trauma meter? What scale are we gonna do? 1 to 10?
Yeah.
For
I
both?
think
Okay.
that's good.
All right. So trauma meter 1 to 10. What would you say?
There's such a wide variety of things that happen in this episode.
I think too we need to determine though, is this trauma meter like watching it now or watching it as a child?
Oh, yeah.
I
I
think that's
think
something.
we have to look at it I remember very specific episodes from when I was a child. I did not see this one when I was a child.
Right.
So,
Watching this I feel like as a child or now, I would give this probably a pretty low rating.
yeah,
I-
4.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3. There's a couple of intense moments.
The dog thing.
The
is
dog
what
thing.
really gets me.
Yeah, the concern for Jack. I don't know if I saw this episode or if it's just because I had seen other episodes. Obviously, we know that Jack makes it.
Yeah.
So I think that definitely lessened the
Yeah.
trauma for me because I was like, I know they find Jack. So it frustrated me more than anything.
Yeah.
If I was watching this and I didn't know what happened, I think
Oh,
it would have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Survivability.
And are we doing this one? We have to decide too. Are we doing this as if we were ourselves now surviving or
I
like
think so.
as kids? Okay.
I think so. Okay, so 1 to 10, 1 being 0 survivability
Yeah.
and 10 being
Perfectly fine.
we'd be perfectly fine. Ugh. Do we get to take our husbands?
Yeah.
Okay,
Or we could do if it was just the two of us.
just the two.
Would probably be screwed. A -5.
Okay, maybe
that
we
can't
should
be
maybe we should
fair.
frame this as if we were Laura and Mary.
Okay.
Okay, so I mean, I would say they're
Or Carolyn. Maybe
Yeah.
if we were Carolyn.
if we were Carolyn. Okay, so I would say their odds in this episode survivability 4,
yeah.
5. Wait, no. 1 is 0. So I would put it higher. So I would say like 7.
6 or 7, 6.5.
Yeah, because I mean, we do have the wolves. That's a little scary. We do have the fire,
Yeah.
the Indians. But I mean, the Indians are chill.
Yeah.
But all in all, like, there's food. They have shelter.
Yeah.
So
So all in all, looking at it through the lens of having seen other episodes that are much more traumatic, this one
Yes.
honestly was kind of a
yeah, this was a
a
pretty
chill beginning.
pretty chill beginning. So if that tells you anything of what's to come,
Yes, so there's a wild ride ahead.
Okay, so our podcast is obviously called Little House, Big Opinions. So we couldn't close the show without giving you our big opinions. Do you want to start with yours, Amanda?
Sure. So, my big opinion is that they didn't really seem to think any of this through.
Yeah.
They just kind of take off for Kansas with very little research or forethought, and then act kind of surprised when they see Indians in Indian country.
Yeah.
Soccer.
And by like how hard they have to work to get it to where they need to be.
Yeah, seems like they thought living in the middle of nowhere was going to be easier than it was.
Yeah. And I feel like, especially when Pa's like hunting, he's like, oh, yep, had a really hard time. You're in the middle of nowhere. Like,
All right.
Okay.
What's your big opinion?
so my big opinion is that Laura is the only one with emotional intelligence because they literally moved to Indian country and she is the only one who doesn't seem shocked to see them and the only one that has enough foresight to be like, this is their home. We moved here to their home. So kind of fair if they don't like us. Like,
She also seems to have a lot of emotional intelligence in her interactions with others comparatively, you know. He seems low on
Yeah.
the scale.
I think that he's. I was gonna say he might be the lowest in the show, but probably Carrie. Because
I don't know. At least
She's
Carrie's
just-
aware of her emotions.
yeah, that's true. And she doesn't. It's not like she's just out there screaming and crying constantly.
Right. Except when
She's a pretty happy little
except when she's
kid.
dumped in a creek with fire.
But fair.
Yeah.
I would cry now if I was dumped in a creek. So arguably more now than when I was a child. Okay, so those are our big opinions. We would love to hear your big opinions. So let us know. You can let us know on Instagram at Little House Big Opinions or on TikTok, same Little House Big Opinions.
thank you for joining us for episode 1 of
Little House, Big Opinions. Hopefully you'll come back next time to hear us talk more about Little House on the Prairie and the trauma.
Always the trauma.
Talk to you next time. I don't know.
We haven't had beef in ages.
Bye.
Thanks for joining this week of Prairie Drama. We unpacked a little trauma. This is Little House, big opinions. See you next week for more wild decisions.